Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Coláiste na Níoscaigh First Year Parents Information webinar for March 2021 in an unusual year and the way everything is going. My name is Sean Landers. I'm one of the guidance counsellors within Coláiste na Níoscaigh. Myself, my colleague, Miss Elaine O'Leary, and Miss Mary Little would be the Career Guidance Counselling Department. Myself and Mr. Peter Greedon, the principal of the school, are the ones involved in presenting this presentation tonight. So we hope that it answers most of the questions that you as parents of first years or incoming first years, and hopefully first year students who might be watching this themselves will have. The first slide is just the content of what the introduction is supposed to be about, or tonight is supposed to be about. So hopefully we'll have a quick introduction where past pupils have gone to in the past, what the core curriculum, that's core subjects that everybody does or is expected to do, will have. The question that is on most people's list and that comes in most often is whether or not a student should take a modern foreign language, in our case Spanish, French or German, one of those subjects, and it's a perennial nut in terms of whether you should or shouldn't, so we'll talk about that. Subject options that are available then outside of those. The Junior Cycle WellBeing programme, the Junior Cycle assessment, how the Junior Cycle programme is assessed itself. What happens next in terms of how you will apply for the subjects and meeting up with the principal, deputy principals. And then a brief piece of information in relation to the cognitive aptitude testing, or the CAT testing as we call it, tracking and mentoring. Okay. So I think as all parents, the first thing that we have a look at or that we try to think about is what our child is going to be like, or what we hope for, our wishes for our child are. I think if you remember back to when you first had your child going to school for the first time, what were the hopes and the wishes that you had for them? Okay, and the same thing goes now at this stage. You know, questions around what do you want? Secondary school, is it a case of do you want them to be, doing the best that they can going on to third level, or are you looking at other things that are as important? So the list kind of usually includes that you want them to be healthy, that you want them to be well adjusted, that you'd like them to be successful, that we have a question around what successful means. It may mean something very different to different people. You want them to be good, that's an interesting one. That they do their best, that they might go on to third level, or that they will go to a suitable job or work or type of career afterwards, that they're not stressed too much. Okay, a little bit, that's no harm, but that they might be stressed a little bit, but that they are prepared for the world that they are going to go into. And I think those are the biggest issues that we as parents have a tendency to look at. The movement on into secondary school is quite different, and it requires a little bit of thought from the three parts of us. Mr. Greedon has put in a three-legged stool here and often talks about that in terms of how we work together in partnership, parents, the students and the school. So we'll talk a little bit about those things right now. You as parents, what are we hoping for you, and what are we hoping that you might be able to do to help us out and help your child out? Well, the first and most important thing is that you have an interest, and that you show an interest in your child's future. That doesn't mean that you're overly interested in it and that you're constantly, haranguing them, but it means that you have an interest, and obviously the fact that you have helped your child to apply to the school, and that you're going to be prepared to come for the interview with your child, shows your interest as it is. We'd like you to check homework, particularly in first year. If you can get into that habit, it may have been something that you got out of while you were in primary school, maybe they're working away well themselves. And maybe even the online stuff has been hard to check. But if we can get you into that habit of checking homework on a regular basis, okay, it gets both you and your child into a good habit, and it means that whenever you look for it later on, there's only a window of opportunity on this for a short while, and there's only a number of years that you'll be able to do it for. But it's just to check. It doesn't mean that you know the answers, it doesn't mean that you're expected to know the answers, but that you can see that your son or daughter has put in their effort, has tried their best, okay, and is following what is supposed to be done by them, and that they have looked at their journal, that they've written it down in the journal, and that they've put it in. It's important for you to listen to them. That's easy when they're 7, 8, 9, you get to hear an awful lot. As they get into the teenage years, there might be an awful lot more hardship in trying to listen and hear. But you know your son and your daughter, and I think that's important, that you trust your gut and listen to what's going on, listen to who they're meeting, listen to what they're saying, and whether they're finding things easy or hard or whatever. Provide a bit of space for them so that they can do their work. Okay, to be honest with you, the dinner table isn't an ideal place to be doing homework or to be doing study. Okay, is it possible for you to provide a space where they can actually do work? As they get older and as the levels of work that they have to do become more intense, it'll be more important for them to be able to work in a separate space and have independent learning. It's going to be important for you to be able to say no. That means no to going out, no to having too much time off or too many friends. It means saying no to if they want to have, not do homework tonight. Sometimes you're going to have to say a little bit of no, and that can be hard as well. You've developed a relationship with them by the end of primary school, so coming into secondary school, there's a bit of adulthood coming in, and you're kind of going, should I say no? Yeah, I think you do have to say that. Again, first couple of years is not hard. You lead by example. Okay, and that's your example in relation to how you try things, the effort that you put into things yourself, and just, tell them to try, give it a bash. That's all we're looking for. By being positive. Okay, so you be positive for them, you be positive about school, positive about education, positive about their future, positive about their friends and their interests. All of that's important. And lastly, in this slide, it says contact us, and that really is important for us. That is, if you're worried about something, if you're concerned about something, if you think or suspect that there's something that you're not particularly happy about, or that you think your son or daughter is changing in some way, for you to contact us. Just ask the question. We can have a look around, see what's going on. Maybe there's a simple explanation, maybe there's not, but it's important that we all know. Is that okay? Excuse me. The next leg of the stool are the children themselves, the students who are coming in. So if you're listening to me, what I would like you to hear is that when you come into secondary school, it's a really exciting time, but it would be important for you to try to keep balance. Okay, it's hard with the excitement of new people, new friends, all of the things that are going on, the choices, the options, and hopefully, this time of COVID will have eased down, and that there will be a lot of going back to the norm in terms of sports and extracurricular activities. But it's really important that you keep a balance between work and recreation, a balance between sleep and your work, your effort, in terms of your food and nutrition, all things to try to keep them in balance. It's important that you put in the effort, that you try hard, that you don't just give up at the first hurdle that you find that's difficult. So coming across a subject or a part of a subject or a topic that you find difficult, that you put the effort in and try. That's important. That you work consistently. I've heard some people describe education or students in education as being either a snail or a frog, that they either move very slowly but in the right direction all the time, or that they're like a frog sitting on the lily pad for a long period of time, no movement and then a big jump forward. I think that neither is the case with students. If you put in a little bit of consistent work every night, okay, every time that you will get time off. You will get your midterm breaks. You mightn't get homework every night in every subject. You might even get weekends off. But if you put in the consistent work regularly, the night that you get the homework to do it, to try to keep up, and it means that you're keeping a big block of heavy work away from yourself. Listen in class. That's the most important thing. If you can listen to the teacher in class, you will learn a huge amount. And particularly in the first 3 years of secondary school, okay, by listening, by doing your homework as well as you possibly can, and by asking questions of the teacher when you're not too sure about something. I think those would be the 3 golden rules that I would offer. Do the homework the night that you get it. Homework is to try to reinforce what you did in class during the day. So if you're doing your homework 3 days after you had the class, it's a little bit more difficult to remember what you did in class that particular day. It's much easier to do it the night you got it, and then you can go back over before you go into class the following morning or the following day. That, I'm afraid, for primary school students, I have to say, is going to be on a Friday night as well. Okay, so yes, you may be used to not getting homework for the weekend, but in secondary school, homework on the Friday night, do it on the Friday night, much better than trying to do it on a Sunday. Keep trying. Your effort, try, keep trying. Okay, it's a really good thing to do, and it builds up a sense of discipline, self-discipline, and your future personality. If you keep at something, may mean that you might need to go and get some help from somebody. That's great, but if you keep trying, then you probably will crack the nut easily enough. Try to be happy. We want you to be happy. We don't want you to be miserable. So that involves a little bit of you doing the work, listening in class, meeting up with your friends, doing the sports, doing the activities. Okay, if you can keep that balance we talked at the start, then I think that to a large extent you will be happy. And if you're not, if something is going really wrong, if you're being, upset by somebody or something, please, the last part of that slide is tell somebody, speak to somebody. There's a load of people here within the school, okay, in terms of the care team and the people who are interested in taking care of you and looking after you. There are other students, you'll come across the mentors in 5th year, etc. But also your parents. Talk to somebody, tell somebody what's going on that you're having difficulty with, and that'll make your life a lot easier. Third slide, or the third leg of the stool, is the school and the school staff themselves. So the purpose of school really is to teach you, is to teach your children and to teach the students themselves. If your students knew everything, there'd be no need for them to come to school. There'd be no need for us to have gone off and got qualifications, not just in our subjects and being subject experts, but also in terms of pedagogy, how to teach. So don't expect as students to know everything, okay? And it's important that you would learn from the teachers. The job of the teachers is to challenge you, okay? It's to push you a little bit harder. It's easy, to do some things, and you'll find some subjects easier than others. Some things you won't like being challenged in. But if I can get you to go back and remember when you, let's say, learned how to cycle a bike for the first time, okay? Maybe it was a tricycle, a 3-wheeled, or maybe you had the stabilizers on it. And then maybe your parents challenged you a little bit more, or your older brother or sister did, and they said, well, try it with one stabilizer taken off, or then with no stabilizers. And then all of a sudden, once you had overcome that challenge, you were probably cycling with no hands on the handlebars and frightening the world. Those challenges are important. They'll be set incrementally for you, but they're set by the staff or the teachers to try to help you to progress, to move along. So the challenges are never too hard, but they are always trying to stretch you. Staff set and correct work, okay, and it's important that you do the work that they set and that you try to do it at the time that it's offered to you or given to you to do. It's always preparation for the next class and correction of the last work that has been done. Staff are there to encourage you as well as to tell you that you're doing well when you are doing well, but also to push you a little bit. Staff care, okay, and I'm delighted to say that every single member of staff within this whole community, the school community, are really caring people. And when they're worried about any student, they have no problem with coming and talking to the principal, the deputy principal, the care team, mentioning it and asking questions and sort of saying, is there anything we can do for? So they really do care. They're there to provide opportunities, and they do. And within classes and subjects, you're going to get an awful lot of opportunities, maybe to debate against another class, or to, when COVID ends, maybe against other schools, to go out on opportunities to visit places, okay, geographical sites, historical sites, scientific endeavour. There's all sorts of things that are going to go on. And those opportunities are offered and done and provided by staff. And the last part of schooling and of teaching is to nurture you, okay, to help you with your growth and to becoming the best person that you can be. And I think that's the vocation that teachers and that staff have, okay, the people who work in the education, whether they're teachers or ancillary staff, it's to encourage, and they love seeing your personality and your character grow and change. So that's, again, the third leg of the school. So the three of us work together in order to make sure the system works well. In terms of Colossus Duniski, how do we get on? So the words progression at the top of the slide suggests that students want to, what do they want to do in their future? So 60 to 70% of our students nationally go into universities like UCC, okay, UCD, Trinity, and the Institutes of Technology like Cork IT, which is now the Munster University, or the Technical University of Munster. Post-leaving certificate colleges have become really popular in courses in the last while. So again, we talk somewhere around about 10 to 15% of students would go on into PLC colleges, which are really fantastic options. We have other colleges where students would go to universities abroad. UCAS would be the university system in the UK, England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. We would have a number going there every year. And UNICAS offers opportunities for students to go abroad in Europe. And we have students in Holland, we have students in Romania, we have students in the Czech Republic, okay, over the last number of years, and that's becoming very popular as well. The apprenticeship, and thanks be to goodness that has changed as well over the last while. We have moved from a situation of 23 apprenticeships in the old style type to being close on 70 different types of apprenticeship, including accountancy, logistics, law, hairdressing, beauty therapy, childcare. So the apprenticeship system has changed considerably and is really a good option. It's learning and earning at the same time. And then we have students who continue on into training, such as in the Army, the Cadets, the Gardaí. There are people who go directly into the world of work, okay, in terms of, let's say, barbering, hairdressing, butchering. There's a whole lot of jobs that go around the place, into Kildalton, Teagasc, the Farm Advisory and the Green Cert. And then there are people who go into repeat or take the year out. Now, to be honest with you, the number of people who repeat in the school is very, very small. I think last year we had 3 people who repeated out of the year of 120. So we're talking about people who, taking a year out for a specific reason, or maybe go to the world of work. So that's about the progression. So it's just in case parents would like to know what happens within our school. This slide shows the list of students of where some of the students from 2020 went to. And as you can see, there's lots of things that are listed there, from teaching, criminology, law, pharmacy, nursing, cybersecurity, okay, all the way down as far as social care, and they're in no specific order. So there's lots available there. Your son or daughter is coming into the secondary school system. Okay, and that's in 2 parts. Okay, so secondary school, I suppose, effectively has 3 phases within it. The first 3 years is called the junior cycle, and on the framework of qualifications, which is on the right hand side of the slide, that would take us up to level 3. Okay, so the first 3 years is the junior certificate or junior cycle program. The senior cycle is 5th year and 6th year, okay, and there is a year in between for students who wish to take it. In this school it's optional and it's called transition year, so that would be 4th year. So your son and daughter are moving into the junior cycle first 3-year program. The junior cycle core curriculum or curriculum subjects are listed. The Department of Education core subjects for schools follow the following order, I suppose. The first one is English, mathematics, Irish, unless you are exempt from doing Irish in primary school. We can have a chat about that in a little while, or when you come in to talk to the principal, deputy principals, and history. So these are the 4 core main subjects that all students will take when they come into the junior cycle, and that's whether you come to Coláiste or you go to any other school in the country. Additional core subjects on offer in Coláiste are science and geography. And we believe that those are hugely important subjects, and that's why we've made them core. Science, okay, for all sorts of reasons, it links into all sorts of different areas. And in junior certificate science for the first 3 years, it incorporates physics, biology and chemistry. And then in the senior cycle leaving certificate, it breaks down into those 3 individual subjects, and agricultural science becomes the 4th part. Geography, again, huge amount of learning and huge amount of knowledge that is gained, and these are life skills that are going to be used by you and that are needed by you, your sons and daughters. So what happens in relation to how the system is worked here within the school? We ask the students to pick 3 from the list of given subjects that are other. So these are the ones on the right hand side of this particular page. Okay, at the top we have modern foreign languages listed. So we offer Spanish, French, German here within the school. Okay, so we'd ask you, if you're thinking about taking a language or you'd like to take a language, that you would choose one from those 3. The other subjects then, so if you're not taking a modern language, you're going to take 3 choices from the list. If you are taking a modern language, you are taking a modern language, and then you are taking 2 others. So let me just give you a brief synopsis as to what those other subjects are. So I could take down the technology, wood technology or woodwork, graphics, often known as design, communications graphics, and metalwork or engineering, are all practical subjects in the sense that they have a basis around skills and skills development. So technology is the use of metal, wood, plastic, circuits, motors. It's very practical in the sense that 50% of the exam at the end of the year 3 is a practical exam. Sometimes it's up to 60% depending on what level you're taking it at. And the rest is around about the book or the, let's say, yeah, project work that you would have to do with it. Okay, so it's about how you solve a problem, how you think about problems, and how you use your skills that you have developed over the 3 years to solve that problem. It becomes technology in the leaving certificate as well, so it continues on. Wood technology, woodwork, okay, you would be designing and making small projects, okay, so letter holders, and the whole idea is to learn the skills that are involved, learning how wood works, and the different types of tools in a safe manner, okay. So you're using equipment as well. The project and the folder accounts for over 60% of the work, okay, that you will be doing. And then there's a 2-hour written paper at the present moment, okay. And that moves into construction studies at Leaving Cert level. So wood technology or woodwork becomes construction studies at Leaving Certificate level. Design, communication, graphics, or graphics as it's listed here. You learn how 3D objects on paper, how to represent 3D objects on paper. So paper is 2-dimensional pictures, and you're looking at how you might solve, again, problems, being creative and thinking how you might put those together in order to solve a problem or particular issue. Okay, the exam is made up of short answer questions, and then they have longer problems where you would be doing a drawing as part of the answer. Okay, so it's about that ability to be able to, I suppose, design and read and create, okay, 3D designs. So a little bit like, you know, what you would see if you open up a box, a flat pack, and you need to put things together. The engineering course, okay, is metalwork, as it's known in junior cycle. It becomes engineering at senior cycle. And again, it's about skills and working with metals, the shaping, the cutting, the joining of these things together, and other materials, plastics and wood. The use of a wide variety of tools in a safe manner, okay, and how you might read and follow technical drawings. Coursework, again, whether it's higher or ordinary, there's between 35 and 75% of it for practical, for a course project that has to be done. And then there's a written exam, which doesn't account for a huge amount. It's somewhere between 25% for ordinary level or 30% for higher level. The art, okay, is art, craft and design in our school, okay, and you create images and objects using a variety of tools and materials and specialized equipment, okay. So you learn and understand largely by doing. It's about an ability to be able to see and understand in a slightly different way. After third year or in third year, you will do a school-based project, and then there's an examination as well, okay, and that school-based project accounts for a large amount of it. And that links in with art at Leaving Certificate in the senior cycle, okay. Home economics. This is one where I would be killed if I get it wrong, because my wife is a home economics teacher, but let me be clear about what it is. It's, again, like all the subjects that we're mentioning here, it's a life skills program that we're looking at, and there are 5 parts to the junior cycle home economics. So the sections are dealing with the body and the self, okay, how it works, how it functions, how to keep it healthy and well, food, nutrition, okay, nutritional values, etc., money and finance, home design, safety, hygiene, okay, and the work in terms of the home, how it would be designed, etc. And then the part that's around textiles, design and craft work and child development. Those 3, you choose a project from one of those 3 as a project that you're going to do in third year. Okay, so the examination is part A would be the project. There's a practical cookery exam done in third year, okay, around the food areas, and then there's a written examination as well. Okay, that becomes home economics, social and scientific, so it breaks down into the science and the social element of it at Leaving Certificate level. That 2 left for us, business studies. Okay, again, excuse me, help stimulate your interest in and understanding of the business environment and how to interact with it. Okay, there's a huge amount of businesses going on, not just in care, but all over the country as well. So personal finance, enterprise and our economy are the 3 areas, the 3 main areas of how this works. And though the examination is a written examination, We have a lot of students involved in enterprise and enterprise work, and buying and selling goods, particularly the Christmas market, the enterprise market, but also getting involved in the South Tip or the Tipperary enterprise areas as well. So a lot of opportunities for students who have entrepreneurial ideas and entrepreneurial skills. That becomes business at leaving certificate level, and also business can be on the side with accountancy and economics. So business breaks down a little bit like science breaks down into the three elements. Business breaks down into accountancy and economics as well as business. And the last one on our list is the music. And at this stage, we're looking at the ability to be able to sing or to play an instrument. Generally, a student will come in just either part of a choir, willing to sing with a choir or play an instrument. Okay, they'll learn an instrument there, okay, as part of the first 3 years. I think in the last while it's been either the ukulele or the tin whistle. But effectively the course revolves around listening to many different types of music, okay, including composing. The examination is practical and theoretical, so the practical element of the exam is as either a solo or part of a group you would play an instrument or sing. And the written is a combination of oral, where you're listening and answering questions, and written paper of composing and listening to music. Okay, and that moves on into music at leaving certificate level. So in a nutshell, we're trying to, or in a number of sentences, that's a similar or a kind of a slight rundown as to what the subjects are available. Okay, to the perennial question then of a language option. Should you take a third language? Let's make it simple for you. If you are really interested, if you are really excited about taking another language, then absolutely take another language, okay? English, Irish are the first two languages. If you wish to take a modern foreign language, you're excited about it, you think you would like to try it, you've been interested in it all along, maybe they speak a language at home, yes, absolutely, go for it. Some courses in universities and colleges require a language as well. Now, I've done a bit of research on that, and there are about 180 courses at universities and institutes of technology that require a student to have a third language to get into. But there are 1,376 courses that do not require you to have a third language. Okay, so for those of you who are struggling with a language or find it difficult, then it may not necessarily be required. Listed here, in general, courses in the NUI, the National Universities, so UCC, UCD, Maynooth, Galway, Royal College of Surgeons, they require third language for courses in arts, social science, law, business, but also for architecture, veterinary and medicine. Nursing, no matter where you do it, does not require language. Just to give you a simple idea of how you might be able to find out a little bit more about it, Qualifax is a really useful website, and if you go into the Qualifax website and go into the section that's marked as students, and down on the left hand side, useful tools, okay, if you press on that one, it will bring you up to the option of finding courses or search course subject requirements. And in that, if you click on the junior certificate subjects, you will be able to find what is the situation regarding third level course providers or courses that I can do or cannot do if I don't have, and then where the arrow is showing down here, you can put in either a third language, or you can put in a science subject, or you can put in whatever, okay? And that will allow you to have a look at all of those courses that we've just mentioned. So if you want to study a foreign language or a modern foreign language here in the school, what we're asking you to do on the choices that will go out, the Microsoft forms that will go out to you on Friday, is to tick or choose modern foreign language. You don't have to say which one yet. We'll have a chat with you when you come in to meet with the principal, the deputy principals, and at that stage we'll talk you through the languages and the choices that you might make there. So we just want you to indicate whether or not you wish to do a modern foreign language or not. And then you will also be putting down the other two choices of options of subjects that you want to take. Normally 70% of students pick another language each year. Okay, so again, 70% take the language, but 30% don't necessarily. So when you're completing your subject choices, if you're selecting a language, again, we just say pick two others from that list that you see there beside you. You've already seen it. And if you are not picking a language, you pick 3. In each of the above cases, you will be asked to select a backup subject or a 4th one. Okay? In terms of how you would choose subjects, choose what you might be interested in, or what you think you might be interested in, what you're curious about. You don't know an awful lot about some of them just yet, but try to find out as much as you can. Abilities and aptitudes. Well, at the end of this talk, we'll talk a little bit about CAT, or the cognitive aptitude tests, and those are kind of a series of tests, a little bit like your sigmas or your micras, that will tell you a little bit about where your strengths are. So if you have an ability or an interest, if you play around with a lot of art or creating, or you're arty and crafty at home, or if you like working with your hands, making things, putting things together, then maybe those will be indicators as to what subjects you might like to take. Your home influences. So if there's somebody who's really brilliant at cooking, or interested in food, or interested in machinery, or whatever it is at home, then maybe that will be a help, or maybe will also be an influence on you. If you know already what it is that you might want to work at or have a future career in, then you can have a look at what the entry requirements for some of the college courses are. So if you know what you want to work at or need to work in, that will be helpful. The most important thing for all students and for all parents to hear right now is that all of our subjects in the Glosta are gender neutral. There's no such thing as boy subjects or girl subjects. And thank God that's also having an effect in the outside world, because there are no such things really as boys subjects or boys careers or girls careers. We have a lot of students who do subjects from either area just because they're interested and they're good at it, and they have careers in areas that we might not necessarily have seen in the traditional sense. And that's really good, okay? And the most important part, I suppose, really is to look at your subjects not just as subjects, but also as the possibility of life skills, things that you will be able to use in the future, that you will learn and that you will be good at, okay? The next website, or the next slide, just gives a list of some of those very useful websites, and you'll find a huge amount of information listed on these. But if you are having difficulty or you're not so sure, please at any time just feel free to contact us, to phone us in here, the guidance department, or phone any of the staff here, and we'll be able to try to answer your questions or help you out.
I'd like to say thanks to Sean there for the last number of slides in the presentation. So in terms of what's happening next, so basically either tomorrow or sometime early next week, a Microsoft form will issue to the mobile phone number that we have on our system. And you will simply just be asked to pick your 3 subjects. And again, as Sean said, if you're picking a modern foreign language, just select modern foreign language and then enter your other 2 subjects beside it and your backup subject. So we're really looking for you to return 4 to us. That will then just give us an indication as to what the demands are going to look like for next year. And in the coming months, probably towards the end of April, early May, a letter will be sent out with an appointment time for yourself, for parents and guardians and your son or daughter to meet with either myself or Mr. Delahunty or Miss Tarrant. And at that stage then we will ask you for your final choices in terms of subject options. We'll ask for your final decision maybe around the modern foreign language, whether you're looking for Spanish, German or French. And we will also at that meeting answer any other queries that you might have. So that's what's going to happen over the next couple of weeks, and again, assuming everything moves nicely with the COVID guidelines, that all that should happen.
Okay, good evening again. What we're going to have a look at quickly now is to have a look at what are called the CAT4, the Cognitive Abilities Test. So your son or daughter are very familiar, or may have been very familiar, certainly were until the last year, with the Sigma and the micro exams or tests that were done in the primary school, okay, so part of the Drumcondra. We hope that we will be able to run what's called the Cognitive Abilities Test sometime probably in April or May. Please God, all things going well according to COVID guidelines and health and safety and all of that. What does the CAT mean, or what does it do? Okay, well, it's a movement on a little bit from the micro T's and from the sigmas that you might have done earlier on. It's a little bit broader in the sense of the options that it gives us, or the things that we test. But it is only a test on a given day. It doesn't have any effect or influence on the classes and how the classes are set up. Okay, so effectively, to a large extent, the classes are set up basically half and half, boys and girls, in as much as we possibly can, and that'll be spoken about again in a moment. But the Cat4 can also be helpful with subject selection. Now, it's not hugely important; it isn't always the case, but if we can get a chance to do it, and your son or daughter can take part in it, and if we find in terms of the results that the selection of subjects that they've made, that there might be one or two that are a bit dodgy, in terms of that the cognitive ability test is suggesting that might not be a strength, then we can revisit it and have a look and have a chat with both you and your son and daughter in relation to this. It's useful for teachers in terms of planning lessons, because they can look at the strengths and areas that are of interest and of strength, I suppose, to the students. And it also allows us within the overall school grouping to have a look at students who might have additional educational needs, okay, and where we might be able to offer some extra supports. So the cognitive ability testing has nothing to do with placement of students. It has nothing to do with determining whether they get a place in the school or not. It has not anything to do with that. It's got to do with us getting more information so that we can do the best we can for your son or daughter in terms of, do they need extra support in some things that they didn't or we didn't know about, or are they doing amazingly well and could be pushed on a little bit more with more expectation. So that will happen, and it's a one-day test. It won't go on for the whole one day, but it will certainly occur for a number of hours. So in the background you're probably hearing the bell, so that's a good thing for you to be able to point out this is the school bell. The next thing that you'll probably hear is a large amount of people moving around outside while we try to finish this talk. But that again is good, because that means that this is a real school, a living and working and breathing school. Give you a sample of what the brief synopsis of data we would get from the cognitive aptitude test would be. Okay, so we've taken a student called Connor Yates, okay, in anyone's school, and these are the types of results that a student would be giving us. Okay, the average ordinary person. Okay, you can see that it's made up of verbal, quantitative is numbers, non-verbal and spatial. Okay, so we're talking about different areas of testing. On average, we would expect the average person, the average human being, will fall somewhere into the 90 to 110 there on the right hand side. Okay, so as you can see from this one, Connor is falling pretty much well into all of those. In two areas he's got a strength, in the non-verbal and the spatial. And in terms of the actual numbers, the quantitative, the maths, a little bit below, so he might be struggling a little bit, but not hugely. In actual fact, this is a very good average student, and we would expect them to do really well with a little bit of push, a little bit of their own initiative and their own work and their own interests. So the subjects that they might take would give them a lot of options for the future. So this is the average. I would be very happy if I had such a profile myself, I think, when I was doing them. The base classes in first year are mixed ability. They will have their own area, okay, when they come into the school, so they will only be first years in that particular area. They'll have their own base area. They will have mentors who are fifth year students who will come down and help them to get settled in. They will have an induction day on the very first day, which is just geared around helping them to get to know and make friends within the classes that they are now being put into, to get them to become very familiar with the school so that they know their way around, and they get familiar with faces of teachers and other members of staff that are in the place. So that's the whole basis of induction, and I suppose that first week will be to ease them into the whole changes that occur in secondary school. The CAT test may be used to form maths classes or English classes, but that'll, it's largely banded, what we call banded. It's a large, broad space, so don't worry about that one too much. And in-house exams and progress through first year are more important than the CAT tests, okay? But over the period of the years that your son or daughter is in the school, those cognitive aptitude tests will help us to look at where we might be able to push them a little bit more, to praise them if they're doing really well, to encourage them if they're staying within the average range, and to try to bolster them a little bit if they are slipping down a little bit on what their ability is suggesting they would be able for.
Okay, and maybe just my own point on the conjunctibility test. I think this year 6 years of the first group that have gone through 6 years where we've used the CAT in terms of tracking their results in in-house exams and also mentoring them. And I have to say it has proved very, very successful, because we have a great indication when the students come to 6th year, what they're capable of doing and what they're capable of achieving. So we see the conjunctibility test as an asset to your son and daughter's progress in the school. And in the last number of years, we've also been retesting in 5th year to add to the information that we have from 1st year. So in terms of the junior cycle well-being, well, in the revamp of the junior cycle, we were asked to put 400 hours of well-being into the curriculum over 3 years. Now the reality is well-being was being done in the school anyway. It was being done in I think every school in Ireland, but now they put it in a formal setting. So in our school, all students would do SPHE, CSP, PE in 1st year. That forms part of the well-being programme, along with information technology. A huge variety of information talks and well-being days take place over the 3 years. And ultimately, we're focusing on the indicators of well-being, which is being responsible, being connected, being resilient, being aware. I'm missing one, I think. So they're the indicators of well-being that we're always working towards. So during cycle well-being program is what we've mentioned here. But look, every staff member in the school will take their part in being responsible for developing, I suppose, emotional intelligence in students, because that's every bit as important, if not more important, than the academic side of the classroom. So the students that can develop good, strong emotional intelligence along with the academic side is going to do exceptionally well. So that's what we'll be focusing on in the wellbeing program throughout the 3 years. In terms of the assessment of the junior side, well, this year and last year we've had no formal exams at the end, but your son or daughter will be starting the junior cycle program in 2021, but really the junior cert really kicks off in 2nd year. So in the Colossus, students will sit 9 exams, and that's in the core subjects that Sean would have mentioned already: Irish, English, Maths, History and Science and Geography, along with the subjects that you take as your 3 picks. So that makes up your 9. So all of those subjects will have a written exam at the end. Only Irish, English and Maths will be taken at higher ordinary level. Every other single subject, which I think is a good move, will be at common level. So all students are following the same program, and at the end they will sit the same exam, which is obviously differentiated to assess people of different abilities on the day. So the above will be combined with an assessment task, which is done in school in 3rd year. And an assessment task is a paper that they will do under the supervision of their teacher, which is worth 10%. And that assessment task is based on a classroom-based assessment that is carried out either in 2nd year or 3rd year. The classroom-based assessments really are where they're trying to promote key skills in students in terms of research, in terms of communication and teamwork, all necessary, I think, for students who progress on to the modern Leaving Cert, and definitely as they move on towards 3rd level or apprenticeship courses, where there'll be an awful lot of focus placed on your own independent learning. So that's what's happening there. So there's a formal exam as per normal, higher level, lower level in Irish, English and Maths. Every other single subject common paper. That makes up 90% of the overall grade, and then there's 10% which is based on an assessment task that's done in school under supervision of the teacher, coming from work that your son or daughter would have done as part of a classroom-based assessment. So that's the general assessment of the junior certificate. There's one other component that I think very few schools have got to do yet because of the disruptive nature of the last number of years, is other areas of learning. So your son or daughter might be really proactive in the Green Schools Committee, or they might be part of a chess club, or they might have been a captain on a school team, or they might have got involved in other events throughout the course of the year, charity events with the Students' Council. That all can be added as other areas of learning. So we're now seeing the profile of the students increasing just beyond the narrow focus of a written exam, which I think is very positive. So at the end, your son or daughter will get a Junior Cert Profile of Achievement. There are 3 parts to this. There is obviously the written results which come back. So students in English, for instance, if you get over 90% in your written paper plus your assessment task, that comes back as a distinction. So no longer will you see A, B's and C's and D's and E's. The grades that come back now for all of your son or daughter's during cert results in 3 years' time will be distinction, which means they're scoring more than 90%, which is outstanding, excellent. Higher merit 70 to 90, merit 55 to 75, and I suppose our expectation is that students of average ability, which will be the one that Sean showed you, they all should be scoring merit and higher merits, and probably the ones that they got strengths getting into distinctions. Then you've got achieve, which is 40 to 55%, and you're partially achieved and not graded. So that's the written result. And then the classroom-based assessments, which are done in school and which are graded by your teachers in consultation with other teachers from the same subject area. Your son or daughter's project that comes back will be either graded exceptional, above expectations, in line with expectations, or yet to meet expectations. So there's 2 different ways in which your son or daughter is graded in terms of the during cert. So there's the written exam part and there's the classroom-based assessment part. I suppose finally, to sum up, I suppose it's very, very important that we have high expectations of everybody. I suppose we have high expectations of ourselves as a school to constantly evaluate what we're doing and to constantly look at ways in which we can improve, so that the students in this collage to enjoy school more maybe, and also that we can find within them all their strengths and let those strengths come out, because every single student that comes through the doors is a different individual, and I don't think we want to box anyone into any particular area. I think that's the strength of the collage. And as your son or daughter goes through first, second year and third year and then moves into transition year or senior cycle, we have different programs again on offer for all our students. And we've got a huge subject choice again at senior cycle, allowing every single student, really, with the supports that they will get in first year, with the supports of our care team, our yearhead teams, our career guidance teams, our special needs assistants, and many more besides, will allow them to focus on their strengths and I suppose always reach for the stars, I suppose we could say that. But that's really, really important that we maintain that high expectations, and you as a parent should have the same. So incredibly high rates of academic success, great, but like one person's D is another person's A+, and I think we're very much of that belief here in the collage. And academic success, yes, we do celebrate it, but we like to celebrate all the other successes as well. So hopefully you found the webinar informative. We'll put together another one which we'll release possibly a little bit later on the structure of the school day and answer the questions that are coming back through the form that we issued on Monday for you. And again, looking forward to meeting everybody in person in the meetings in late April, and obviously on the return to school in September. And a tradition that we started a couple of years back was that on the first morning back, that parents or guardians could join with their son or daughter on their first day in school. So please God, we'll be able to return to that again in late August, early September. So there will be more information to follow. But again, thanks for your time, and thanks to Sean for putting together the webinar.